Hello, white people. Try not to be too shocked. TV is mind control through physiological and psychological manipulation. Television is an anesthetic for the pain of the modern world. Did you know that little kids are watching about 34 hours of television a week, and that doesn't even include the 3 or 4 hours of recorded media that they watch? And you may or may not know that corporate media, and I don't mean little companies, because anybody can go and sign up to be a corporation, an S Corp, C Corp, that kind of thing. I'm talking about these big multinational, multi-billion-dollar companies that corporate media is mostly, we already know that, it's owned by just a couple of companies, and 75% of the commercial airtime is paid for by the 100 largest corporations in America. I don't think that's true. It's probably a lot less than that. So when they create content, their advertisers even though their advertisers are paying them, they make their advertisers reinforce the content that they're shoving down our throats. That's so bizarre, isn't it? And the more we watch TV, now here we go. Here's the scientific evidence of how the TV manipulates us. The more we watch TV, the more we go into alpha brainwave states, the slow and receptive pattern that accepts images and suggestion into consciousness less critically. A state of hypnosis is induced by the alpha frequency, where you are content is just to sit and continue watching. Going from the beta to an alpha wave state can affect how we feel, making it pleasurable to induce an alpha wave relaxed state and watching the TV, thereby making it addictive as a habit to veg out. Like opioids, like alcohol. It seems like a lot more people than you'd think have addictive personality problems, huh? Kicking the habit seems to be hard for many people to do. For some reason, they are drawn to spend time and pay attention to the TV. Television is a drug. In 1969, Herbert Krugman conducted experiments about human brainwaves and television. Krugman monitored a person through many trials and found that in less than 1 minute of television viewing, the person's brainwaves switched from beta waves, brainwaves associated with active logical thought, to primarily alpha waves. When the subject stopped watching television and began reading a magazine, the brainwaves reverted to beta waves. So people go into a zombie state when they're watching TV. That's charming, isn't it? We are in a lower mental state, less evaluative, less critical, less able to discern truth from falsity, reality from unreality. There are many ideas based on images we receive that we would normally reject or at least question under normal conditions, whereas with the television, this functionality is impaired. We are filled with both images of half-truth and propaganda, but also images that distract and divert our attention from social realities of the world with banal, pointless, irrelevant, mind-numbing fodder and entertainment to keep us stimulated. Now, have you noticed that if somebody who has these really bizarre ideas, let's say, what's one? The insurrection. There was an insurrection at the Capitol. And you try to talk to people about that, who believe that there really was an insurrection, they absolutely will reject anything that you say, because the images that were placed in their mind, even though they're half-assed and weak, these people are convinced there was actually an insurrection. And it's just disgusting. This shit's going to end up in history books. Anyway, one thing to note, however, is that CRT, cathode ray tube television technology, operated differently than current LCD technology. The effect of light frequency transmission for alpha wave state increase may be different. Here's a summary of some of Krugman's conclusions. Internal alpha responses can be stimulated by appropriate external rhythms or frequencies. The time may come when the mass media may create special programs to help people modify certain attitudes or behavior. Okay, so this guy, remember, this is back in 1969, and this guy is saying this. This means that passively learned material has an important advantage, which some have also associated with so-called subliminal perception, extrasensory perception, or hypnotism. For early education, there may be an opportunity to accept the fact that many children fidget in class and that this interference with their attention is not to be blamed on parents, teachers, or the child. Mild drugging of these children or training in relaxation through alpha driving may be dramatically helpful to their educational achievement. For public television, there may be an opportunity to accept without shame the fact that it has taught violence to an entire generation. The clear story of television violence is not that a new generation is more violent, but that the new generation knows more violence. The political consequences of this may yet be what some would call good. Example, pacifist. It is possible that the relaxed and successful character of passive learning can be enhanced by the artificial induction of alpha rhythm, this with the aid of a flickering light. The truth about TV. Switching our attention constantly seems addictive as well. We are drawn to short attention activity, checking our messages, notifications, looking for attention from somewhere. Time and attention is also fractured in watching frame-breaking split-second scenes and rapid temporal shifts and plots. Reality doesn't operate this way, but technology has allowed imagery to be manipulated. Images are broken up, shifting from one to the other, requiring our attention to keep up with all the constant changes, leading us to develop attention deficits, ADD, ADHD, and a need for attention-grabbing visual stimulus. Reality doesn't match up, becomes too slow and boring. You know, when I was a kid, nobody had ADD or ADHD. Augmented and virtual realities. Games are more desirable as they provide a constant flux of stimulation and keep our attention occupied in small fragments of time. Games and TV both serve as an escape from the mundane, slow, boring reality we are conditioned to experience that way. They are our opiates, our soma from Brave New World to keep us entertained like a circus or gladiator matches, or it's our anesthetic to keep us drooling as we watch hours and hours of garbage. The imagery we get is a mix of real, unreal, and semi-real events. We are left to judge and evaluate what his reality is like based on a flood of images. The events can merge with similar variables that make them all appear real and valid. How television works. As real-life experience is increasingly replaced by the mediated experience of television viewing, it becomes easy for politicians and market researchers of all sorts to rely on a base of mediated mass experience that can be evoked by appropriate triggers. The TV world becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. The mass mind takes shape, its participants acting according to media-derived impulses and believing them to be their own personal volition arising out of their own desire and needs. In such a situation, whoever controls the screen controls the future, the past, and the present. Now, I never noticed that people were manipulated by the TV and given prepackaged ideas until people started having Trump derangement syndrome. And when you try to talk to people and say, well, you don't know this person, you're basing your opinion on somebody else telling you that, and they can't see it. They're like, no, he's a terrible person. He did this. He did that. You know, one time he double parked his car. You just can't convince people of reality anymore. It's just so crazy that the TV has such a grip on their mind. And you know something? There are a lot of prepackaged ideas in my head that I'm not even aware of, and it takes time to identify all those and unravel them. I'm kind of depressed about that, but I mean, really, at least I'll have something to do. All right, white people, thank you so much for listening. I look forward to your thoughts below.